So this is kind of a newer song for us in the youth group, but it's perfect for what we're getting ready to talk about. Testimonies and evidence of God in our lives and transformation in our lives. It's called See a Victory. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. And my God will never fail. And my God will never fail. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. Yeah. I'm not backing down from any giant. I know how this story ends. How is it? I know how this story ends. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Sing that again. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. One more time. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. One more time. I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today. We have some of our Grove leaders today. Today is a special day. If you're watching, it is Father's Day. So maybe you're watching with your dad. Maybe you're hiding from your dad and you're watching it. I don't know, but we're glad you're here. We're going to hear from some of these dads that you get to see normally every week, minus COVID, to hang out with, and you will see every week again very soon, hopefully. So, yeah. So we've got Ron, Scott, and Brian. They're all here. They need no introduction. All right, yeah. So the first question I'll ask you guys is, since you're all dads, and we've got, I'm a dad of like little kids, and Brian, you're a dad of a somewhat little kid, and getting older. But everybody's getting older. But Scott's got a teenager, and Ron has seen it all. So he's got a grandkid now. So so we have a wealth of experience here, and so I wanted to talk about this with you guys, and really just because. As Christian teenagers, I feel like we should be finding ways how we can better serve everybody, including our parents. So Ephesians 6:2 says to honor your parents. It's the first commandment with a promise. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes, about what that means to honor your parents, what specifically honor your father. But since you are all dads, I'd like for all of you to go around. We'll start with Scott first. What's the best, or maybe one of the best things about being a dad?
I tell you what, and it kind of changes as your kids age. Of course, one of the best parts when Macy was real little, walking in the door and Macy was like, "Daddy!" and she'd come up and she'd hug me and get excited. Now I walk in and it's like, "Macy, where are you?" "Up here," and so it's one of those things where it's having kids as an opportunity for you to put everything that you've learned, both by work, world, but also by Christianity. It gives you an opportunity to kind of spill into your child and develop them and give them the things that you were given, especially if you come from a Christian home yourself. Things are passed down, and the blessings of the fathers before me. And so it's one of those things that I think that's one of the best things of having kids and watching them grow in their own walk and develop in their own way.
That's awesome. Brian, what about you? Best thing about being a dad?
Oh man, it's kind of crazy, growing up in a Christian home, and it was funny. Dad would always say, "You're going to yell at your own kids for this one day," and sure enough, we're already to that point. But it's great, like Scott said, coming home and Daddy's home, or you call the wife and there's Zoe going, "I want to talk to Daddy," and I'm still at that point. Scott, I'm sorry you don't have that anymore, but like you said, it's a great experience for them to just want Daddy all the time, and it's that sense of Daddy can't do any wrong and Daddy fixes everything. It's pretty good. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It's also very scary too, because like
it
is. Yeah.
What
about you, Ron?
I think one of the best things is kind of like what Scott said, the fact that you can continue teaching, continuing to pass down what your parents have taught you, what your grandparents have taught you, and continue that into your kids. And especially even being able to see that come to fruition, so to speak, in your adult children now for me. And also now passing that down to a granddaughter.
Yeah.
So those are enjoyable.
Yeah, okay, that's very special. And really even, I guess in my perspective, as far as passing things down, I see my experience my chance and my opportunity to be a father as a way to kind of change the family line. And some of you who are watching right now, maybe Father's Day is weird for you because you don't have a dad, or you have a dad but they took off, or your dad and your relationship with your dad's not good. I was the same way. I was raised mostly by my mom. I saw my dad, every few weeks or so, or something like that, and sometimes less. And when I became a dad, even before that, when I got married, I decided I want to be the kind of dad that I always wished I had but never had. So that's, for me, that's a special thing, is doing things differently than was modeled to me, and making the mistakes of my family, using those as learning experiences and trying to change things. So yeah.
Can I jump in on that real quick?
Yeah.
I had a friend ask me once, he was going through a rough time, and he asked me, he said, do you think that the sins of our fathers, do you think that the family curse is really a thing? Like, the sins of our fathers follow us? And I said, I think we learn what we see and we do what we see. And I said, and I think there is something to that, of course. But I also think that everyone has the opportunity to be a family tree changer. And everyone has the opportunity to make a difference and completely turn, a 180 from maybe something that's bad or has been given to you bad. You have the decision. You can be a victim about it, and you could just choose to accept it, or you could do something about it. And it was really interesting for him to kind of chew on that. And we had some really deep discussions about that. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Sawyer. So what you're doing is you are changing the direction of your family tree. Now, I know other people that are doing that, and there's a lot of pressure on that. Yeah. But that's why, hopefully if you're in that position where you're trying to change your family tree, and if you really want to do that, you got to surround yourself with good people. They're going to be brutally honest with you, but also supportive.
Yeah. And specifically even good men around you. That's why the church is important. That's why it's, if you don't have a dad, if you teen boys watching, but you want to be a good dad, we'll give you all the wisdom that we think we know, and all the things that we, any way we can support you. So yeah, those are some great things. That, and my son's old enough now where he's starting to like superheroes and stuff. So we have some fun. So that's been fun. But the next question for you guys is, describe your relationship with your dad as a teenager.
Oh, as a teenager, what's interesting, I honestly, man, I had great parents. Happy Father's Day, Dad, if you're watching this by chance. So, it's really kind of an interesting thing. As a teenager, I had a functional relationship with my dad. Guys are just different, girls like, hey, I'm going to go to the mall with Mom. Guys, it's kind of one of those things like, oh, I don't know what to do. So one of the things my dad always tried to do was, my mom reached me through music and stuff and art and stuff, but my dad really reached me through sports. My dad played basketball with my brother and I growing up. I mean, the dude was like in his late 50s, kind of hobbling around playing basketball, but he was doing it not because he wanted to necessarily, but that was his way of spending time with us. And he would always just try and find ways to spend time with us, and when possible. And I've talked to Macy about this before, like I know looking back now, times where my dad would say, hey, do you want to go to the store with me? And I'd be like, no, I don't want to go. And I know all he was trying to do was spend time with me. And that's all he wanted to do. And I think that's one of those things where my dad was there supportive. And now that I'm older, and especially now I have my own kids in the teenage years, I totally see what my dad was trying to do, and he was doing it the right way. He wasn't perfect, and none of us are, but trying to do it the right way like that, yeah. So, I mean, I had a pretty functional one, but now looking back, it was pretty good.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
Brian?
For me, I grew up on the farm, and so Dad and Grandpa were always pretty close to home, and it was kind of the same. We didn't play a lot. Dad didn't play a lot of sports, but whenever there was time to throw a ball or play basketball, he'd put up the basketball hoop out at the barn for us or something. But like I said before, I'd see times now where Dad, looking back, would say, "Hey, you want to go, do all kinds of stuff." And getting into the teenage years, you remember saying, "No, I'd rather not do this," or "No, I'm going to go do this instead." And it was time where I look back at opportunities that I missed, that I could have learned something very valuable about life, or even about fixing things. But so it's kind of nice still. I'm always able to call my dad and go out there and help with things, or work on things, or even just kind of, "Dad, I need help. How do I fix this? How do I do this?" Because growing up on the farm, you kind of have to be the jack of all trades. You got to learn how to do a little bit of everything. So still learning to this day. I call my dad at least once a week with a problem or a question on how do I fix this, or what do you think about doing this. So I can't really complain about my childhood growing up. Both parents were great. I was kind of I'd go shopping with Mom, but still go out and ride in the tractor with Dad.
That's awesome. Ron.
I think I always had a pretty good relationship with my father, but he, as a pastor himself, he wasn't always around a lot. He was, doing things for the church and doing things with other people. But where I could connect with him most, obviously, he was also the NYPS president. Back in those days, it was called NYPS rather than NYI. And so I was always at church camps with him. There was a lot of times I would maybe help cook in our camp cafeterias and doing some of those kinds of things together. If there were projects around the church, whether it be re-roofing the church or finishing the church pews or something of that nature, he would ask me to help out. So I got to spend time with him doing those things. I was always very active in sports, but Dad made sure I got to my practices. He was always at every game, every track meet. Even if we were in a fall revival during football season, he would bring the evangelist at halftime when the church service was over and catch the rest of my game. So those were things that I think I had a pretty good rapport with my father. He taught me a lot. I didn't have his mechanical skills, but I got to do a lot of things with woodworking and things of that sort that he would be doing that I was able to pick up on. And I'm sure that's a big part of why I'm still working with teens. The fact that was a part of his calling. And I do that a lot because I enjoy it, obviously. But I think I do that a lot to honor him as well.
Yeah. He's
Ron, I never thought I would hear you say you hit someone with pool noodles to honor your father.
Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. That's awesome. And my dad relationship was strange. When I was younger, I don't think I saw what he did as bad, or I didn't see. I just always wanted him to be around, and so some good things that he taught me how to play piano, and so he got me interested in music, and I wanted to be like him. So I knew that the music thing was the biggest thing for us. Is we connected together through the years, and we would play music together, and I knew he played trumpet in the marching band, so I wanted to play trumpet in the marching band, and so a lot of the things, a lot of my my hobbies and interests are similar to him because of growing up. That's one way we did connect when I did get to be around him. So we had a pretty rocky relationship at times, but we also had good times. There are good times in I think any situation. So but moving forward a little bit, so this verse that I mentioned earlier, Ephesians 6:2, that says honor your parents. We're thinking about honoring your parents in the way, especially your father. Just describe you think, what is one way you think dads want to be honored by their kids?
I think dads want to be honored by their kids by showing the proper respect to others, because in turn, if you can give those on earth respect, then surely you can give the Father of all things respect. The Bible says that there's no greater joy than knowing my children have walked in the ways of the kingdom of God, and I think I think that's a great way to honor your parents because, as Ron pointed out, it shows the heritage, and it shows that you've chosen. And even though you aren't going to be perfect and you're not going to always make the right decisions, there's still that always striving to follow the path of God, and always trying to do what He wants you to do, and the decisions that you make are considering Him and what He wants for your life.
Yeah. Anybody else on that one? What do you think? How do you think dads want to be honored?
Oh,
by their
for
kids?
me, man, it's just always growing up, even to this day, Dad's full of wisdom and knowledge and things to do. And it's nice that even with Zoe, you teach her things, and it's nice to have them actually listen to you. And, I think as we get older, we tend to think Dad doesn't know everything. But I find myself now that I'm older that Dad knew a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
And same with my grandpa, taught me all kinds of things, and I wish I'd have listened more. But, I think that's one of, like Scott was saying, it's all great, but just to know that my dad's awful close to both of us boys. And, if there's a question about a Bible verse or a question about this, I know I can always go to him. So I'd like to have that same type of relationship. And for me, that's a good way to be honored, to have your kid actually come to you and ask for advice.
Yeah.
Well, I know for me, again, as my father was a pastor, there were a lot of things that I would never do just because of honoring his ministry and not wanting to do anything to tarnish that. I have two siblings, and they didn't always follow some of that. They got into some difficulties here and there at different parts of their life. And I guess for me, not that I was a perfect angel by any means, because I sure wasn't, but I always wanted to do what was going to honor my dad's profession and my dad's ministry, and not do anything to harm that. And for me, I guess with my kids, the fact that they are all three serving in churches where they are is an honor to me. Scott's a worship pastor in Bluffton, Indiana, and works with the older groups there as well, with mentoring some of them. And Matt is in Beaver Creek. He just finished his degree in education, and is a drummer in a praise band in his church and working with the teens there. And Melissa in their church in Mount Vernon is working with teens as well. So I guess that's just the fact that they're honoring me with their lives and serving the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And this honoring thing is really, I think it's just the mentality of others first. This mentality of, hey, life is not about me. It's not about what I want. And sometimes students watching, your parents need grace too. Sometimes your parents need to be served. There's a lot of parenting today. A lot of teenagers I see, or problems that I see from parents. It stems from this strange idea that while the parents are there, you're supposed to do things for me. That's what you're there for, right? You're supposed to get me stuff and give me stuff and let me do things, and that's what you're here for. You're here to take care of me. And when really, family, Ephesians, I would encourage you guys to read Ephesians 6 and read how the family is structured. And family is actually supposed to be serving one another. It's supposed to look kind of like a little church. We're serving one another. We're loving each other, and we're helping each other out with our burdens. And so that kind of leads us into our last question. It's sort of similar, but I think in a way different. What's one thing you think students watching today could do to maybe today or tomorrow or sometime this week to honor their father? Something they can do, maybe something more practical.
So, here's the thing. My wife loves this trait about me, that I don't put a whole lot of stock in holidays. I just don't, like birthdays and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't want anything. But sometimes I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind going. Here's the thing. There's an award called Service Above Self at Mount Vernon Nazarene University, and they give that to a person, a boy and a girl. They're graduating, and the whole point of the Service Above Self award is to give opportunities to recognize people who have decided that serving the kingdom is greater than themselves. I didn't win that award. I wasn't striving to win that award. But as I've grown older and I've found, that you can serve the kingdom. Now, there's times where you do need to take care of yourself, obviously. But there's also, as you get older and you see all the opportunities to serve the kingdom, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to gifts. Honestly, I don't particularly like gifts just for myself. I would much rather have, like tickets to a game that I could take Macy or Amber or whatever to, so I could just spend time with them. Really, I don't want things like, honestly, if I have everything I really, really need, so I think that's one thing that, if kids are looking like, how can I honor dad? Spend time with your dad. Spend time with your mom. Spend time with your parents. Man, because you never know when it could end. And, and there's a lot to learn because, like we've all said, we thought that our parents didn't know anything. And then as we've gotten older, we're like, oh, they knew a lot more. And so it starts happening in your early 20s. You're like, my parents were a lot smarter than I gave them credit for. And so learn from them. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So I think for me, my grandpa, we lost him in a matter of about a month. Found out he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then he was pretty much gone. And so I seen a change in my dad since that time of spending time with his grandkids and his own kids is meant a lot more to him now than it did before. I mean, like I said, we've always been close, but the best thing that I've ever gotten from my dad is spend time with your family. And I know he really cherishes those moments. We try to go over there about every Friday. We try to all get together and have dinner, cook out, especially this time of year. We cook hamburgers on the fire and, sit down and ask Dad, how was your day? Teach me something new. It's always interesting to hear what things that you learned today.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I look forward to or that would expect, a good way obviously to honor your father is just like you said, everybody spend time with them. I'm probably the only one on here that doesn't have either one of their parents. We're even a father-in-law at this point in time. So they're gone, and I do miss them, certainly. And I miss that time that we had to be able to spend together. And that's one thing I enjoy from my kids. I don't want anything else from them except time.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing you can give them.
Yeah, and that's something too. I mean, you don't get it back, and like
Right.
I know for those of you watching who maybe have a similar, maybe or even worse situation than I did, and if Dad is in the picture at all, we say it all the time that relationships matter most. I spent a lot of my time, and especially my high school years and my college years, kind of blowing off my dad when he wanted to talk to me, when he wanted to be there for me. Because later in life, as he got sick, and he kind of realized that he kind of screwed some things up, and he tried to spend time with me. And my mentality was, well, when I needed him, he wasn't there, so why should I be there for him now when he needs me? So there's a lot of calls I blew off, a lot of texts I ignored, a lot of time I could have spent with him that I spent doing other things that now I wished I had back, so that I could spend more time with him. And whatever the relationship with your dad looks like today, I would encourage you to work to keep the relationship. To, if it needs restored, to work to restore the relationship. If it needs just strengthen, work to strengthen it. And if it's great, then maybe acknowledge that it's great, and I don't know, maybe do something more for them. Maybe spend some more time with them, or tell them, hey, thanks for being a great dad, because not everybody has that, and great dads are hard to come by anymore. And so if you're watching and you do have a great dad, don't take them for granted. Not just on Father's Day, but every day. Work to honor them by putting the needs of your family before your needs, before your wants, before hanging out with your friends or whatever it is. There's always going to be conflicts. There'll always be things in the way, but work to keep the relationships going. They're spending time and reconciling and forgiving one another. It's hard. It's really easy to get, to hear somebody say it. It's really easy to say it, but it's hard to actually do. But that's kind of my 2 cents is just make sure keep your relationship sacred, especially with your dad. Well, guys, thanks for being on here and hanging out and talking about dad stuff. We appreciate you guys, and happy Father's Day to you. If you guys have their numbers or have them on social media, maybe send them a happy Father's Day if you enjoyed their input in this discussion. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.
All right.
See ya.